Thinking you're gonna watch a coding tutorial and get a job at Google is like saying, I'm gonna throw some hoops on the garage with my grandpa and next year I will be on the NBA draft. Have you ever binge watched a full 17-hour marathon of coding tutorials? At the end, you were like, I have no idea how to even code Minesweeper. Well, here's the problem. If software development is building a medieval ship, then coding tutorials are a lesson on how to cut wood. Now, imagine your goal is to build one of these monstrosities, but everything you know is how to cut wood. And at the same time, you keep watching dudes cutting wood over and over again. But then you realize, okay, some guys use different kinds of wood cutters. Let's watch some of these. You can literally spend a gazillion of hours watching this, and you will never be able to build this. At some point, you're gonna realize coding tutorials are not bringing you any closer to your goal. But why is that? Don't get it twisted, watching tutorials and courses is not wrong. That's how all people learn a craft. Even if you're going for a computer science degree, I guarantee you will be watching a trainload of these guys explaining you these things. Why? Because these guys don't know how to explain these things. Every developer will tell you they learned programming by themselves, which means they read and watched material online, but some get lost in the woods of coding boot camps. So the problem is when new programmers get stuck in tutorial hell and can't figure their way out. They land straight up in the 7 circles of Dante's hell, where they jump from beginner course to beginner course. In no other activity, people spend more time in the practice stage than in programming. For instance, let's say you wanna play an online game, but you keep playing the practice stage for like 12 months, over and over again, just running around the same level. It is like getting your driver's license over and over again, but not driving anywhere. Now, what you also have to understand is that learning platforms have their own interests. They have no intrinsic value to get you out of the tutorial loop. They wanna keep you there as long as possible and keep you coming back and buying more and more tutorials. I mean, if someone buys the course and never comes back, that's not a good business model. There's no Lambos in there. You have to understand that there's a whole industry for programming teaching products. Them telling you what you actually need to do would be like shooting the cash cow instead of milking it. No other industry has that amount of teaching material. Not even regular school has that amount of teaching material. I mean, you don't see websites offering a 27-part series of plumbing boot camps. So yeah, you get the idea. A lot of people get stuck forever in this tutorial stage. Another aspect why people get stuck is comfort. Let me be clear, watching and doing tutorials where someone takes you by the hand and walks you through is way more comfortable than figuring shit out on your own. But it leads you nowhere, or at least not in cool places. And it also makes you feel like you're making progress, but you're beating the same level over and over again. The real path to learning on how to create shit from scratch is way more complex. So taking the difficult path will either give you the access to the money printer or to the realization that you don't like programming after all, which both is better than wasting time. Keep in mind, tutorials show you basic practices, how a language works, the syntax, but you need to get practice on how to use these tools and how to structure your work. This is much more important than to know how to reverse a string in Java. So, how to get out of the pits of tutorial hell? You need to learn on how to build a ship instead of practicing cutting boards. That means first you need to define what your ship is. What project do you want to build? If you don't have any ideas, just try to reverse engineer something what you think is achievable. Program a dating app for people with no friends. Or make some microcontroller water the plants that are desperately trying to survive in your living room. Now, let's say you know what you want to create. Start to break down the project into smaller pieces and smaller goals. Knowing how to properly schedule your work and learning how to tackle a big problem is an art. Then start working on the smaller chunks of work. Come up with the software architecture, requirements, start coding, and create a testing framework. Along the way, while trying to figure out how something works, just Google it and watch tutorials. That's fine. I cannot stress enough how important it is to know how to Google something properly. Now, upload everything on GitHub, document it in an understandable manner, and here you go. Now, go to the next project, repeat the steps, and try to improve. Try to implement some new framework, try a new algorithm, or try even new languages. But let's say you are not that good enough just to start coding or you have no idea where to start. Now, go find a project on GitHub where you are genuinely interested on how it works. Pull the repo. First, figure out on how to run it. Then go analyze the source code and try to figure out how it works. Look at how the code is structured. How did the developer structure his folders, files, what naming convention is used, what style guidelines is he following. Then go try to modify the behavior of the code and see what happens. Or even try to add a new feature to the code. Trust me, this will give you more insights and understanding of software development than doing just another tutorial. You also need to understand that coding is just a small part of software development. And a lot of the other stuff is not being taught at length in the university or in an online course. This kind of knowledge you will get from your first jobs or internships. Like software development cycles, software architecture, software validation, testing, requirements engineering, and all of the other stuff of keyboard magic. But this is a topic for another video. Now, is doing a lot of own projects going to land you a job in one of the FAANG companies? Well, maybe. Your chances are definitely better than of someone who is just doing coding tutorials. But we have to understand that software development is much more than memorizing all the DSA questions in order to pass a job interview. A lot of people get stuck at this stage forever. Just keep showing up every day, learn, practice, create, repeat, and you will be good. If you liked the video, hit like and subscribe, and see you in the next one. Tariq 10x.